How's it going, everyone? I am Dylan. This is my cousin Carlo. This is Own It, Play It, Skip It, episode 14. Did you think when we did the first episode?
14?
Yeah. Wild.
I thought you were joking.
No, 14.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's been one episode that you and Braden were in, and I was, and one episode me and Braden did that you didn't
right,
do.
but still, it's...
Yeah, I think it's... I said that now. It's either 14 or 13, but I'm 99% sure it's 14 because I checked beforehand, but...
It was at this moment he knew. He f***ed up.
Yeah, 14 episodes.
It's quite a few.
We've come a long way, and before we know it, we're going to be doing episode 58. Will be 58.
Okay, that's quite the number.
So we're going to be looking at 6 games today. If it's been a while since our last one, if you are seeing this series for the first time, we're going to look at 6 games today, and each one we're going to say whether we essentially review the game as whether it's an own it, you want to actually have it in your collection, whether it's a play it, a game that you would play but you don't actually have to own yourself, or skip it entirely. We after having played it, we just don't think we want to spend any more time with that game.
Yeah, or maybe feel like we wish we would have skipped it.
Exactly. So I'm going to start things off, and the game I'm going to start it off with is a game that for the longest time I was convinced we had done already and on Play It, Skip It. I was sure I'd covered it, and I literally had to go back when you first brought this to my attention and like go and check the lists for every one to Play It, Skip It, because I was like, no, 100% we covered it, but we didn't, and that's Radlands. And it's a game, look how small this box is. That's a game that honestly I've spoken a lot about, despite the fact we never have covered it on Play It, Skip It. It's been on a bunch of my top 50s and our top 50 lists and other lists.
Yeah,
and
I think
stuff
you
like
came up
that.
into your top 2-player games.
Yeah.
And...
So this is a 2-player card battling game. What's interesting about this is you're going to both be drawing cards from the same deck. You don't have your own individual deck, and so every card that your opponent can draw, you can draw, and vice versa. This has lanes, so there's going to be 3 different lanes, and at the end of each lane is going to be a base camp, right? I think that's what they call it in the game.
I think so.
Camps or whatever. And that's essentially the goal of the game. You have to destroy your opponent's base camps. Those base camps are going to be picked at the start of the game from 6 possible ones that you're going to draw from a big deck of cards, which has only gotten bigger now that there's been an expansion released. And you are going to be able to pick whichever ones you want based on the powers that are on them, but also what they're going to allow you to start the game with in terms of card hand size, which is a big thing. You can pick ones with really powerful abilities, but then you might start the game with no cards in your hand, which is obviously a huge hill to climb right from the start. So your goal is to destroy those base camps, but you're going to be blocking your own base camps and your opponent's going to be blocking theirs by playing different characters to your lanes above those camps. And on top of that, you can also put cards face down as punks, which are essentially cards that only take 1 hit to beat, but they're just like fodder to be able to block your camps, and sometimes can be utilized with their abilities. You have these like limited water discs, and those water discs are essentially like, if you played Magic, it's like mana, or any game that's like what is going to actually allow you to play these cards, but it's very limited. You get 3 water discs. Some cards cost 3 water discs to play. There's ways to get like temporary additional water discs, or like you can get a water silo into your hand that you can essentially get a 4th disc on your turn. But in general, you're fighting for your actions. If you want to draw a card outside of the regular drawing, it costs you 2 of those water discs. So you are kind of battling like the limited things you can do in your turn. That's like a quick overview of the game. Is there anything like really important you think I missed that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like event cards, the Raiders advance
and
stuff.
So it's insane. If you're not just playing characters, there's event cards that you're playing that will not always resolve immediately, like you might be used to in other games with like spells and stuff, where it'll say like this one may have a 2 on the event card, and that means that it's going to take 2 turns for it to resolve. So you're kind of planning ahead based on, some of them universally they'll be good when they resolve. In some cases, you're like, okay, is this going to still be a factor when it resolves? Is it a problem if I play this now? You can do things to like delay your opponent's events, like if it's about to resolve, you can do things to push them back. So there's a whole bunch of stuff at play. This isn't Own It for me, and you probably aren't surprised by that if you heard me talk about it before. But really, what it is we've played Radlands as far back as during our mental health live stream, which was like 2022 now. It's crazy that it was that long ago, right? And it still is a game that I might not have suggested as much as I thought that I would, but I've started to a little bit more this year, and every time I play it, I just have a good time. It might not be that it like, is one of... It might be that I've cooled on it a bit, and that it's, there's other 2-player card battling games that I'd maybe rather play, but it's reliable, and that aspect of both drawing from the same deck, there's still so many cards that I haven't actually personally played with. In the last game you and I played, you played a card that I've never played with, and I don't even know if I'd played it against it.
Carly Blaze?
Yes.
Whatever, yeah.
And so that was really interesting. The amount of camps that I've never used or never seen or never interacted with is still staggering. Like there's still so much to uncover there. The fact that those camps and how you start with them change every game so much. There's still tons of strategies I haven't tried. Like the last game I played, I tried really hard to do this punk strategy and I just didn't draw the cards I needed. But that was because of the camps that I had at the start of the game. I was like, this is pushing me in a direction that might be interesting to explore and try. I feel like I could play 10 more games of Radlands and I'd still be doing that because there's enough to see there that it almost demands that, and I still haven't seen them. So that's I think the biggest plus for me is that I love card battling games as it stands. Two-player games is a type of game that I think in general everyone plays almost the most of or a lot of, and I will gravitate a lot to two-player games. Really, one of the only things that is kind of like I found that has held it back as I played it more is that the theme doesn't resonate with everyone, and like even like I think I could introduce it to my partner, and I think that she would like it, but I don't think that she would see the theme and be like, oh yeah, like let's play this, whereas other games I've suggested, I know it's going to be more of a hit that way.
It's kind of like that Mad Max post-apocalyptic, but like very bright neon colors in the artwork, right?
Yeah, like
it looks great, I think.
And I'll even admit, like I'm not a Mad Max fan really. Like that wasn't something that drew me to it, but it's implemented well. And honestly, now that I think about it, the best thing about this game might be the quality of the cards.
Oh, it's incredible.
Tell them about the quality of the cards. Describe the quality of the cards.
I don't even know if I can. It feels like the type of thing where if you would bend it, it would just immediately goes back into shape. Like we played it the other day, and it was probably like I've played Dylan's copy probably 6 or 7 times. I know he's played it a bunch without me, so I imagine you've played your copy probably 12 to 15 times at least. And the cards, like when you lay the stack, it just looks like a brand new stack of cards that has never even been shuffled. Like you can just feel there's no game that has cards on this level. I feel like
it's a quick playing game, but it always takes an extra 25 minutes because the first 25 minutes everyone's just admiring the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Passing them around, like, feel this one. How's it? Like I play this card every game.
Seriously,
and it still feels brand new.
Makes you play this and you go, this should be like the standard expectation going forward for every game that is like this, where you have one deck of cards that you're going to shuffle hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. Like this is the quality of cards you want that are going to last.
And I know it.
You don't need to sleeve, like you haven't sleeved them and they all look perfect condition still.
I think you're right. Like honestly, and I know it's unrealistic for maybe reasons that like are, well, obviously it comes down to cost, but like I agree. Like when it comes to a game that it is asking you to shuffle this deck a lot, and everything you're doing is shuffling and battling with these cards. Like this kind of standard of card quality should be a baseline, because otherwise you are kind of expecting people, or provide sleeves, like because you're expecting someone to essentially over time like ruin their game because of how often, like lots of games have cards, but I have lots of games that I played a bunch. The cards are fine because it's not the main part of the game, but this one it's like not only like you're handling them constantly, you're shuffling them constantly.
I'm telling you, I would love cards of this quality in my copy of Battle Line.
Oh yeah,
I played that a ton, and my cards are all frayed, like they're crazy.
I don't even know what you call it, but the quality in here is just like it's great. So it's an order for me. I still come back to it, it had been a while since I played it, and me and Carlo played it recently before this video, and I was just like, I still like this game. It's still good, still enjoyable. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. For me, it would be a play it. I like it as well, but obviously nowhere near as much as you. I think it's pretty consistently, since the first time I played it, been like a solid 7 out of 10 for me. Okay. I could see over time I might decrease that down to a 6. There's a couple things I'm not crazy about in the game. One thing I found is the high cost cards, the ones that cost 3 or 4, not only are harder to get in play, like sometimes it takes a lot of effort and you're using your whole turn, all of your water or whatever, but because there's so many abilities in the game to just like do a damage or or destroy a card or whatever, sometimes it feels like those get neutralized super quick. And I was thankful that one I played last game, the one you're talking about, Carly Blaze, was like I took a risk because I was like, I know these cards cost a lot, normally don't work out. I'll try it out. So I actually got to see, and that was like encouraging for me, because every other game I found when I go for the big high cost cards I lose, and when I ignore them and instead just focus on the cheaper units, I've had more success.
But that last play was encouraging.
I know, and some of the most interesting cards are the ones that cost 3 or 4, and I'm like, look at this ability. But you put it in your play, and then the other person has a hand of cards, and I don't know if you remember, or I don't remember if you mentioned the multi-use cards, but every card has an icon in the top left corner, and you can junk the card, basically just discard it, and you get the ability, whatever is in the corner. So you might just have a hand of 5 cards, and you might have 2 cards that just by junking them you can do a damage. So I spend 3 or 4 water playing this card using my whole turn, and then you just trash one of your cards and immediately damage mine. Now I have to wait another turn to even restore my units. So it's just, I wish you could get more use out of those high cost cards.
I would say that's a fair criticism, because like when I think about it, I haven't played Carly Blaze, but I've played with there's a few of those cards that cost 3, and they're people, and they are like have really strong abilities and stuff, so they cost more. And a lot of the times I've gotten them out, they're now just a magnet for every sort of ability your opponent has to neutralize them, which it makes sense, but I would say the variability of Radlands is both a blessing and a curse. And variability in terms of like the difference between each game session. Mm-hmm. You never know quite what to expect with each session. It keeps it nice and fresh, but like it being that like unpredictable could mean that you draw a card that you're like, oh yes, I really want to, like, this looks super powerful, and based on what your opponent has, you play it, and you never have a chance to do anything with that card. Yeah. And so it's like you invest the entire turn to play it. It gets neutralized pretty quick. You restore it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna use it now. Then they just, and eventually it becomes like we're just playing a game of, can I get this card?
There's some of that, sometimes that war of attrition thing where it's like, you put out a good card, I neutralize it, then as soon as you restore it, then I'm using my next turn to neutralize it again, and it's this kind of like, we're taking turns neutralizing each other's biggest threats, and then every once in a while the raiders squeak through, or something squeaks through that does chips away at your camps. And we talked about the camps briefly, but that's like my favorite part of the game. I find it so interesting that it determines how many cards you start with, but also gives you different abilities that are in play the whole game, and then that also is going to determine which cards you're putting where, like which camps do you want to defend, which camps do you want to make use of more than others. So cool game. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about it, but
that is Radlands. Own it for me, play it for Carlo.
All right, and next up we are going to talk about a game. We don't have the physical copy here. Actually, the next two that I'm going to talk about, or the first two, are both currently being used for staging purposes.
Staging at my condo that I'm selling. Yes. So if you want to buy a condo,
drop a comment below. No,
that's our bidding war here.
So the first game I'm going to talk about here is the White Castle. So if you're, if you watch board game YouTube, you've probably heard millions of people probably heard a lot of different channels talking about this game in the past couple of years. It came out in 2023, published by DeVere Games. And the biggest, I'm not going to get too into like rules and stuff, because again, it's a very popular game. I think it's already in like the top 100 on Board Game Geek.
Is it actually that high?
Yeah, I think it was like 75 already.
That's like, it's not wild. Like it's always great when people love games if I don't, but there's certain games that I'm just like, I'm always surprised when they're that universally things, and this is one that kind of surprises me.
I know. So the big hook, I think, the thing you always hear people mention about this game that I think we can't really go on without saying, is the fact that you only get 9 turns in this game. And that's the big thing, because every turn there's so much potential to either set up for future plans or to do something either well or poorly that is then going to have these cascading effects onwards, because there's different types of actions you can take, different types of workers. It's basically a dice placement game, and every turn you're going to have a choice between 2 different dice of either red dice, black dice, or white dice. Depending which die you take and where you take it from, you might get a certain benefit from which die you took in the first place, and then depending where you place it, you're going to get a series of potentially one benefit, maybe even multiple benefits, depending what spots you go on.
It's always the lowest and highest dice of each color, because the ones that are in the middle end up on the bridge, and so it's like it'll be the lowest value on one side and the highest value on one side, and then isn't it when you take a dice, like, or after the round's over, they slide over it, and fill in the spots. I will say that it's not that's I've seen things like that in other games, but
no, it's cool.
It was a neat way to sort of balance like what dice are available, and then also like there's spots that can only take a certain color of dice. Right?
That's exactly it. There's spots that only take a certain color of dice, or it will say like it'll have like a white 3, or it'll have a 3 pip thing, and if you're placing a 6, then you're gaining 3 coins, or if you're placing something lower, you might have to pay the difference. So there's a lot of, and it's a very tight game. Like there's 3 different types of resources, and I think you can hold 6 or 7 of each resource, but you're basically trying to go up this castle. I think it's castle that's in Japan. I believe it's after an actual like real castle. But you're basically like putting these different people that were represented by your dice in different portions of the castle, activating. You can have like gardeners, courtiers, and I think warriors. So there's like different ways that you can interact with the castle. You can kind of like improve your social status by moving up the castle. There's like I don't remember what it's called. It's not reputation. There's a track that you can kind of move along, and the further along this track you get through the game. So there's different ways to score points. Ultimately, like, I think the theme and the artwork does a bit of the heavy lifting. I think my first impression of the game was stronger. Like I've enjoyed it, I think, subsequently less each play since the first time. And even the first time we played we covered it in we played 22 games in 3 days at the cabin video, and we ranked whatever it was, like I guess all 22 games, and I'm pretty sure it was like in the bottom half for me even then. I remember feeling like a little disappointed because of this game was like getting like a lot of hype. And yeah, the artwork is really, really, really nice components. The production is awesome. But there was something that just felt a bit like hollow or shallow about it a bit. Like by the end, I felt like a lot of what I was doing was just kind of figuring out the most efficient way through this puzzle. Like it's all about min-maxing. How can you sort of start to build an engine early and have it so that when you do this, it triggers this other thing, and you're building up, what is that, lantern action or whatever, where if you take it, then it triggers all these abilities.
The lantern action is one of my favorite parts about it. Like
it's cool.
It's being able to, like, every game prioritize different resources down there, and like a lot of games you'll start with something on that lantern track where it's possible to, and then you can like maximize what you're getting back. But you're right, like it is a lot of min-maxing, and it also just kind of feels like I've seen other games do this type of thing, and I've seen them do it better, the same or whatever, that I left liking it, but also feeling like I like it, and can also acknowledge that, like, not the art or anything, but it just, like, as a package, it's a little bit bland. Like, there's not, like, it just feels like it didn't do anything that made me go like, whoa, you know what I mean? Or like really capture me and made me really want to go back to it. If anything, there's different things about, like, selecting the dice or taking different actions that I'm like, yeah, it reminds me that I like that mechanic, but I don't think this is the game I like it best in. Right?
Yeah, there's never really any, like, big moments. There's not like, oh, that was such a clever play, or like, I can't believe you just did that thing, or like, oh man, that was such a brilliant, like, there's never really felt like there were big moments. It always felt like it's kind of quiet around the table. I mean, we played this in person, more on BGA than in person. But it's like, it's quiet, everyone's kind of waiting, and then someone will be like, okay, I do this, I get this, I get this, I get these resources. Okay, next person. And then it's kind of just like, everyone's quiet for a while, then someone picks their thing, and by the end, all you've done, sort of, it feels like, is kind of like gain some resources, convert the resources into points, move up this track, which might get me more resources, which again might let me convert. Like, it feels a lot of like resource conversion for the sake of getting points from the resources, and it's like a convoluted puzzle. I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. I don't mean convoluted as in like not good. I'm just saying, like, it's an intricate puzzle that you have to kind of wrestle with to squeeze as much out of it as you can in terms of like gaining the resources at the right time and capitalizing on them.
Would you call this a mumble game?
Maybe a little bit.
Just as you said, like, I do this.
Yeah, it is a bit of that, because the turns can be long too. It can be like, I chain this, then I chain, and then I move up on this thing, and everyone's just like, okay, yeah, I see what he's doing there. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, I think for me, it's a play it, but it's. If you told me I couldn't play it, I would be closer to skip it than an own it, which feels weird. Like, fair. I really didn't expect this going in, and even after the first play and then playing it on BGA and stuff, I kept thinking, maybe we'll give it another chance. Like, even we're in another BGA game now, because even before wanting to do this video, I was like, am I missing something? Like, why? It's like so many people are loving this game, like one of the games of the year. It's like skyrocketing to the top 100 on BGG, and I just felt like it was a little bland. Like, there's no specific, like, this isn't a flaw of the game. It just feels like it doesn't do anything really that exciting to me, other than the prospect of, like, you only have 9 turns.
Yeah, like, so it's a play it for me as well, and I will say that it's play it because, like, I enjoy it. I think that you should play it. I think it's a game that, like, has, I understand why people like it, and it surprises me that it's that high. I don't think I realized that. I just, like, there's nothing about it that grabbed me enough that I would be like when it, because it's not, I wouldn't say the White Castles for our, like, the groups we get together for games is ever be like the main game.
No.
But it would never be like my first or second or third or fourth choice to be like, okay, as like the game we play before the main game or after, like, but not, and it's not, we don't want it to be a filler, we want it to be like somewhere in between or whatever. I don't know that I'll ever like really positively and happily suggest White Castle, but if someone else wanted to play it, I wouldn't be disappointed. It's just I think that it's worth playing to find out if it lands for you. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, what I really want to try is White Castle Duel, that new version, just to see, because like I'm just maybe they refined it in a way that now it's a really good 2-player experience, and now like that version. But yeah, anyways, play it for me as well.
All right, yeah, fair enough.
All right.
Oh, just real quick, for people who've played other games by Devere, like the Red Cathedral, I think is a much more interesting, much better game than the White Castle, just for comparison. And even the Red Cathedral didn't last in my collection long term, but
and that's the right answer, because red is better than white.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so red's the best color. Better than orange, better than yellow. Actually, not better than orange. Only because orange is a brand color. Now we're getting into some random color.
Yeah.
Color moving on. Next game is Lacuna in this very interesting, colorful box that I'm going to straighten out like that. So Lacuna is a game that I can't remember if it was you or Braden or who tipped me off to it first, but it's one of the games I would say that when it's set up on the table, and when, especially if you have like other people around, if you're at a convention, which is where we played at one time, it is an eye-catching game. It's one that draws attention because there's not quite anything that I have played like it in the terms of like, and I mean that in terms of like setting it up, like playing around.
The
like,
physicality of it.
It's very unique. So basically it comes with this cloth inside here, and you're going to spread it on the table. Inside here there's a bunch of chips, and actually you need to use the actual box itself. So there's this little hole in it. Once you have that spread out, you're going to randomly place all these different shapes and colored.
I love that the packaging isn't specifically like marketing or gimmick. Because you might think like, oh, a weird cylinder-shaped box, but when you actually see how it helps you set the game up, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so you're going to spread out all these things. I can't remember what they're called, but they're like little flower, little tokens, colored tokens, whatever.
Little discs.
It's a very abstract game. You're going to spread them all out randomly, and then everyone gets 6 either gold or silver little, I'm just going to say meeples.
Markers.
Markers. And you're basically going to go back and forth. So you each get 6 turns, placing them between any 2 colors of the same color, as long as it's a full, like, uninterrupted line that you can make. There's nothing in between. And when you place your marker down, you're going to take those 2 colors and into your supply. The goal is there's 7 different colors, and you need to have the majority in the majority. So you have to, like, basically in 4 of the 7, you have to have the majority of those colors to win the game. And so yes, you're just taking those 2, and then your opponent's going to do the same thing and take those 2. But after you've placed all 6, then it's going to come down to how close all those markers are to all the colors around. Whoever's closest to each color, you're taking more of those markers back. And if it's really close, like you're a curling fan, and in terms of like measurements of all the Canadians out there, it comes with a ruler in here, and you have to actually measure the distances to see how close you are. And actually, the last time I played Lacuna, it's been a while, I played with my friend Sarah, and that was the only time I played Lacuna where it was a full-on tie. Because it came down to there was only 1 piece left, and we were fully, like, we were completely even. So we each needed that piece, and we were equal distance away. Like, maybe.
How many times did you go back and forth?
So many.
But maybe.
And also, we were just happy to be like, oh my God, we died. Yeah. But like,
that is pretty awesome.
But like, yeah, it was just like, anyways.
Does the game have tiebreaker rules?
I think it was share the victory, or even if it wasn't, we just said share the victory.
What else would it be?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so like it's really simple. It's just that it's a really satisfying game to play, and not just in the decisions you're making, but just interacting with the game itself. Like, it really is one of those things where take out all the stuff I described about the way you pour it out, the mat, the beauty of it. If this was a very different package, but you were doing the same thing and you weren't interacting with it the same way, I honestly think Lacuna would lose a lot of the charm and stuff that makes it something I want to play as often as I do. But for like how quick it plays, for like,
which is, you didn't mention, it's what, like 10-15 minutes?
Oh yeah,
like you might be able to play
turns,
it in like 5 minutes maybe. Like,
yeah, it comes down to how quick you're able to like figure out who is closest to different items.
Even if someone was really try-harding the game or trying to like analysis paralysis, like I think maybe 20 minutes max. Yeah.
And like it's usually a game you play, like it's one of those games where it's like you sit down to play this, you're probably playing a best of 3.
Yeah.
Like
or someone else is walking by, like, can I try that after?
Exactly. Yeah. It's honestly just really beautiful, really satisfying to play, and the decisions that, even though it's just picking the colors, like it the more I play it, the more I'm like, okay, like I'm up. You'll notice, okay, I'm up in brown, so I don't need to now go around and be close to the brown ones because I've got that secured. I already have the majority just based on this first couple of rounds. And they know that too. And so now it's okay, well, that's one of the 4 majorities that I need to have. And so you're weighing all that, but like you can only get so many on those 6 plays. Then you really have to know how you have position. And it's not always, spread out so I can, get as many things as you can. Well, but depending where the colors that you need are, spreading out might be the worst thing you could do. Maybe all of the colors you need to win the final majority are over here. And so now you really should be prioritizing that, right? Like,
yeah, it's the thing I find so interesting about it is how it makes use of a skill or puts to test a skill that you don't really use in games ever.
Yeah.
Like spatial awareness and like there's games where you have to do like tile laying, like polyomino games where you're building something on your own board or like all kinds of stuff like that. But this is kind of like looking at something on the board and just trying to estimate, like using your, I don't even know what you'd call it, like your visual acuity, I guess, to like estimate how far, I guess the word is lacuna. The lacuna is like the distance between things. Yeah. You're trying to estimate the lacuna between 2 objects.
No. I think you got it wrong. Sorry. It's actually a phrase from The Lion King. It's Lacuna Matata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that.
My mistake. But yeah, and you're trying to use that to basically inform your decisions, which is just so interesting. And then watching it play out and the kind of, the aspect of like looking around, trying to like get in people's way or figure out who's closer is just, it's so different.
Yeah. So Lacuna doesn't own it for me. And really it's because like, regardless of whether I cool on it more, whether I only play it like, now I'm playing it like once a year or whatever, for the price, for the, like, yes, it's a weird shape, but it fits anywhere. Like, I don't even keep this on my board game shelf. I keep it on the window, and it just kind of looks really like windowsill and looks really nice there.
A nice coffee table game to show someone.
It just for that price and for how quick it plays and for like the novelty of it, I could see this being a game where like anyone that's coming over that like somewhat of a board game, maybe not at all, but is interested in playing something. It's just such an easy pick for me because it'll impress them and it'll be something they've never quite experienced before and they'll get something out of it. And that alone, it's worth it. It's to say own it in your collection. But then I also just want to actually like play it more and see if I can get better at the strategy.
I might actually ask you to, if I can borrow this at some point, bring it to like a family gathering to just have out and like having people just watching it, 2 people playing, someone else jumps in and plays. I think I would probably call it an own it as well. It's borderline. It's like either high play it, but I'm going to call it an own it because I think if you and Braden didn't own it, or if I just saw it on sale somewhere, like I would probably buy it. The only reason I haven't bought it is just because I've played it enough with you guys, but I don't think it's a game I would want to go too long without having access to. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah. It really is a game.
How simple it is.
Exactly. For the simplicity and the price and just the real estate that it takes on your shelf, like it almost, if you have the money and are looking for a different kind of game to have, it's a pretty easy recommendation.
Yeah.
So
Another nice production by CMYK. They're killing it these days.
That is Lacuna.
All right, next up we are going to talk about the Wolves. I was trying to remember because I don't have the box here. So the Wolves, so not to be confused with a game called Wolves without the, which was, I believe, a 2024 release. This is The Wolves, published by Pandasaurus Games. So this was a game that initially went through crowdfunding, and the basic idea of the game is that each player controls a wolf pack, competing for, I guess, dominance of the land. And so there's different terrain types on the land. There's, like grass, desert, or whatever, like forest, swamp, etc. And you basically, each player has their own little like personal player board where they have a bunch of little kind of tokens and it shows kind of your abilities and stuff. And then there's the main map that you're all playing on where you're kind of fighting for the space. So at the start of the game, it's going to lay out kind of like 3 different scoring regions throughout the game, and you're going to know what order, like this is going to be the first one, this is going to be the second one, and this is going to be the third one. So you know when these scorings are going to happen, or loosely what order they're going to happen in, and which areas you might want to have your wolf pack in or near throughout the different times of the game. So you can kind of look at the map at the start and already have some type of loose plan. And on your turn, the actions you can take, you can do things like you can move around, you can, and if you move, I believe you can split it between multiple wolves because you start to have just, I don't remember how many you start with on the map at the beginning, but you can do things like howl, and there's these like tokens on the map that if anyone is within, any wolf that is within range howls, it kind of activates that token, now becomes a wolf in your wolf pack rather than like another player's wolf pack. So you're kind of like growing your wolf pack, you're expanding your abilities, you can improve the range of your howl, you can improve your move capabilities so that you can just move like more spaces. You can upgrade or build dens on the map, which I think dens are where you can have other, I don't remember if wolves can also come out of the dens or if dens are mostly for scoring.
It's been a while since I played it now. Again, well, they're definitely for like scoring the majority in the regions.
Yeah, they count.
But I can't remember if they actually like if they
I feel like there's some other purpose.
Anything,
I don't remember what it is now. It's something like you either have to have a den next to something for. I can't remember now. I'm drawing a blank here, but there's couple main things I really want to touch on real quick. One is the way that you take your actions and the terrain type. So this is probably my least favorite thing about the game, and I know a lot of people actually loved this about the game. So I'm going to say this is not like one of those things where we go, this is inherently a design flaw. I realize that like I seem to be in the minority for not liking this, but basically on your board you have these different terrain tiles, and you can only move on to, I think it's the tiles that are revealed, and when you take your action you have to flip tiles the other way around, face down, and they have different types of terrain. So throughout the game, you're doing this little management thing on your board with flipping these terrain tiles back and forth, and they determine which other spaces you can or can't move to. So the game I found caused, I mean, it doesn't come into play when you're playing it on Board Game Arena, but when you play in person, the amount of analysis paralysis because someone's like, oh, I want to get to that side of the map, I'm going to do this, and this, and this, and sometimes they plan out and they go, oh, wait, I can't because of my terrain tiles. Okay, never mind. Okay, so if I can only go to like swamp and this, and so it really limits what you can do, but it's not always obvious. Like it's not like I look at my terrain tiles and then it's not like an easy visual thing to look at the board and see what your options are or are not based on that. It's kind of this like visual thing you have to figure out again, like look at this, think about how many movement points do I have, can this work? And if so, then which tiles am I flipping over to, which is that going to limit something that I want to do on the next turn? So that turn to turn and long game just really felt like it hampered the game, and it felt like it was one of those things that probably came up during the design process where when like, whoa, this is a cool thing, no other game has this, but for me it just felt like it got in the way.
It's interesting like that. So when I first played the Wolves, that was my favorite thing about it. But as I think it was more, to be honest, I think it was more like the rose-colored glasses of like a novel, cool, like, oh, interesting, you know what I mean? What I found like on subsequent plays is that there's a decent amount I like about the Wolves, but that ended up becoming a puzzle that became, by the end, not fun for me to solve.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it would be like, I am invested on what I'm trying to do with my strategy of this game, and now I'm not going to think about that because I got to figure out in what order I'm going to flip these tiles, or how do I do that so that I can make sure I leave myself with the right terrain. And maybe that's the thing. Like maybe you're supposed to play the Wolves where you're not, and I could be wrong, but like maybe you're supposed to play it where you're not like thinking like 3 turns ahead, because it's impossible or hard to be like, okay, but if I flip and then flip and then flip and then flip, then I'll have like, you can't maybe think like, okay, then I'll end up with 2 snow tiles and then I'll be able to do this. But if you are supposed to do that, if you're supposed to be able to be like, so I'll flip these and then I'll do this turn, and that means when I flip these, I can do this next turn. Like that's just a level that's just not fun for me to map that out.
And you would have to play that game so much to get to that point.
Exactly.
And is it good enough to play it that many times? Yeah. I don't know.
And if the idea is that you're not supposed to, like it's supposed to be a system that prevents you from being able to plan that far in advance, you're supposed to kind of go with the flow a bit more, then I almost think that like, why is this system in here? Because I think it's bringing down the experience at that point, right?
And I wonder, maybe it was a reactive thing. Maybe they didn't have that in, and maybe it was too easy to accomplish what you wanted all the time, and then players all did the same thing, so they thought we have to like put something in there to kind of like make it harder to achieve what you're intending to do. Like I don't know from a design perspective. I just know that as a player it made the game less enjoyable, and it made too much of my thinking and like deciding, my decision time spent on like navigating this weird kind of like hindrance that is just there to kind of slow you down, trip you up. The other thing I wanted to mention is has the player board similar you'd see in games like Hansa Teutonica or Terra Mystica. And that's one of the really satisfying parts of the game, is depending what you decide to do, for every den you build out on the board, you're taking a piece off of your board and it's going to reveal something underneath. So as you take stuff off your board, you're increasing your howl range, or how many wolves you can move or whatever.
And that is satisfying. And
for sure.
And like so in the same way that one mechanic with like flipping your tiles like got worse over time for me, there are like the actual gameplay and like maneuvering your wolves and going for like which characters are going to score on that specific round, and like having to be like, okay, I've only upgraded this, like my howl to this amount, so I got to try to utilize some of these other skills. Like I found that fun, and I actually ended up enjoying it more than I thought as it went on.
Yeah.
But I will say that like then I'll play a game like Hansa Teutonica, and it's like what I'm doing with like upgrading powers, even though the game itself is very different than the Wolves, the way I'm upgrading the powers and everything. If I were to play those back to back, I would leave the experience being like, Hans of Teutonica is scratching the itch I'm currently looking for, like in a game more than the Wolves is, and especially when it has this tile flipping thing that kind of like pulls that experience back. I think. So.
Yeah, I also don't like. So many of the things in the game are thematic to an extent, like the way that your wolf pack, like whatever. There's issue. I know people have mentioned issues about alpha wolves and whatever. Like I'm not even going to get into that whole thing. The tile thing is so like non-thematic. It's like why. What does this even represent? How like certain wolves can or can't move on certain land types?
Right.
But it's like it just felt weird.
It feels a little shoehorned.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it belongs.
I would be really curious where, and out of sheer curiosity, like where in the development process that came up. Like, was that something that was built around, or that someone had that mechanic, and they're like, and now let's build a game around it? Was it like you said, and it became something they needed to inject because it needed something else? Was it like? We had this mechanic, we can't figure out the game to put it into. Now we think we can get into the Wolves.
Here's the thing that I'm wondering if it ties into the other thing that I'm not crazy about in the game, which is the dominations, or how you can dominate other players' wolves.
Oh, yeah.
So this is basically where you, as your like alpha wolf, you can sort of like take over someone else's wolf. I think it converts it into one of your own.
It does, yeah.
But it has to be like every player has their own specific land type that is like their specialty land type. So like one player might be like the mountain wolves, someone else might be like the forest wolves, and if another player's wolf is on your main type of territory and you meet other conditions, I can't remember what it is, then you can dominate them and like remove them from the map. And that might be why the whole tile flipping thing was in there, so that it restricted you on how quickly you can move to get close to people to then dominate them.
So are you saying you don't like the dominate action as the action, or you don't like the restriction of the terrain?
Yeah, I don't like the restriction because then it becomes, again, this tile flipping thing of like, or if I want to land somewhere, I'm then looking around being like, okay, but if I finish on like an ice space,
that's exactly
then,
what I was going to say.
but then it's Dylan's turn next and he's the ice one and he's close enough. Okay, so I don't want to end up on ice close to Dylan. Maybe I'll just end up on the swamp close to Dylan instead. And it's like, what a weird arbitrary thing to have to account for.
Yeah, to end your turn and then have to be like, okay, so I would be ending my turn here, and you have to look around the table at everyone's terrain and be like, okay, who is potentially going to be able to me over? Where are they? I just swore, and I just swore on camera. I got to bleep this out. But like you're looking around and you have to essentially say like, okay, well, so they're the ones that I'll end up on their terrain. Where are they? Can they interact with me? And then you are incentivized to be like, who has landed on my terrain that I can potentially use the dog? Like, and I get, that's not inherently bad, but it just feels like that terrain restriction. By the end, I was just like, I almost wish that like there was no restriction for the and maybe, and I don't know what that would do.
Maybe
to the balance,
game doesn't work without it. I don't know, but it's unfortunate. So I'll say right now, this is a play it for me. This is a game that I like wanted to like a lot more than I ended up liking it, and I still like, just to compare really quickly, even just the White Castle, like I enjoy this quite a bit more than the White Castle. I think it's a game that has a lot of potential to have like ideas pulled from it, whether it's like a second edition in the future or someone uses some of this stuff. There was like the best parts of this game were really good. It just felt like it kind of shot itself in the foot with the whole terrain thing. It kind of just made the game a little too analysis paralysis, and slowed things down too much. And I cannot imagine, I think in person we only played with 3 players. This thing goes to 5. I could not imagine playing this game with 5.
I mean, there'd be more like, there'd be a lot going on the board. It would be good in some ways with the board presence of 5 different players, but in other ways it would be really bad, I think. So it's a play for me as well. I would say it's pretty close to a skip. Like I consider doing a skip for this one, because it's it's a weird case where like I like enough about it, and some of it I really like, that you would think like, why would you say to skip it? But it's just like the parts that hold it back enough that when I really think about it, I'm like, how often do I actually want to play it? So it's a low fair. Play it for me, I would say.
It's such a shame, because the actual, just like the scoring thing again, where you're like, ooh, that scoring round is coming up. I want to maybe still go away from there to like recruit more wolves. If I can move away and howl, can I still make it back here before this area scores? Like there's a lot of interesting planning. It just doesn't fully come together.
Agreed.
So that is the Wolves.
All right, and my last game that we're going to look at is a Knizia game called Sunrise Lane. So Sunrise Lane is a surprisingly simple and quick playing game, and I know this because I just played a back-to-back games recently again, and this was the first time that I played it at 2 players, and I recorded, like I set a timer as soon as we started, and when we finished, it was 14 minutes to play Sunrise Lane. Yeah, and it says 45 on it. So I'm assuming that's 3 to 4 players. But yeah, we like.
Still, I thought you were going to say like 25 or 30.
No, we weren't rushing either. And so we did back-to-back games. One was 14 minutes. One was 18 minutes. So like it's not like a one-time case. Again, that's with 2 players, but still. So if you play Ticket to Ride, you might notice some things that are similar here. What you're going to be doing is you're going to have a hand of cards. You start with 3, and the max you can have, I think, is 5. And you are essentially going to have cards of different colors in them. They're all like, I think it's like red, green, blue, all the colors that you would normally see.
Like colors. You got no colors, right?
Yeah, colors. I'll name some more. Purple and yellow.
Familiar with orange by chance? Maybe pink?
And basically on the board, there's going to be different pips on the spots. And so like, let's say for instance that you start from the middle in this game. Let's say that the next spot is a pink spot with 2 pips. What that means is that if I play a single pink card from my hand, you'll have a whole slew of houses that's your player markers. I can now play a single house onto that pink 2, and that house is worth 2 points because the pips underneath it is 2. If I had 3 pink cards in my hand, I could play all 3, and I could stack 3 houses on top of each other to make a tower, and now I'd get 3 times 2 points for 6 points. And these spots go up to 5, so obviously you can imagine if you can play like 5 cards, a full hand of one color, that's 25 points on a single play. And the best part of this game, my favorite part about it, is that if you say I do have that pink 2, and I have one pink 2, I do have that pink card in my hand, and I play it, and I go in that 2 spot. Your turn's doesn't have to be over, because if the next spot that's adjacent to your house that you just placed is a color that you also have in your hand, you can continue, and you can continue. You could empty your whole hand and do 1 house on every spot if you want, and go 5 separate spots. So you can extend on the board very far in a single turn and get a whole bunch of points. The thing is you're now opening up spaces that your opponent or opponents can play off of, because everybody on their turn can play not just adjacent to the middle spot that you start the game on, but any houses, not even just your own, any houses that are on the board, you can go adjacent to. The only restriction is if you want to do that thing where you chain, you can't like place a house here, go adjacent over here, go adjacent here. You have to keep building off that same one. But so it leads these really interesting, quick combos, and in a game that's already super quick, where like I don't even really plan in this game too much, because I have my hand. I know that where where my opponent goes is going to open up new possibilities for me, and I know I can just look around and be like, here's the numbers that are on there. You're usually looking for the highest scoring pips, but on top of scoring from those pips that are on the board, the 2 separate corners each have their own scoring condition. And
for endgame scoring.
Yeah, endgame scoring. And so one of them is whoever has the highest tower is going to get 10 points, second gets 6, and I think a third gets 3. If you're tied, it goes to like, say you had a tower of 4 and Carlo had a tower of 4, and we both had 1, we're tied. Now who has the most 3-size towers? Then who has the most 2-size towers if you keep tying? So that's one of the endgame scoring.
But just for those districts?
Just those 2 districts, yeah, the 2 corners. The other 2 corners, it's whoever has the most
total structures.
Yeah, exactly. So regardless of size, doesn't matter. Just whoever has covered the most ground. And then the third final endgame score that's not tied to a district is whoever has the biggest contiguous cluster or continuous line, right? So, what I'll say is that I'd only played this with 3 and 4, and I really liked it in all my plays, and everyone I had introduced it to was like, it had been like a really big surprise. And I played with people who had like almost never played board games, and then like people who play board games a lot, and it was like positive all around. I was even telling people, I'm like, I don't think it'll be super solid at 2. I don't know how it'll be at 2. And I played it at 2, and like my partner likes it way more than I do, but it's like surprisingly solid at 2. Like the biggest thing is that there's so much empty territory. You can still spread and stuff. It's just that like it sometimes devolves a little bit into, okay, I know that currently my opponent has the highest tower here, so I'm gonna tie them on the tower. And then they notice, okay, you have the most here. You're kind of just like, you do something and the other person tries to block you. You do something, the other tries to block. But like it's not bad. It's just something that like I think it's not the strongest of all the player counts, but it still hits the mark. Like it becomes just a different kind of game. Like when you're playing with 3 or 4, by the time it gets back to you, there's so many different possibilities that have opened. You're not just trying to stop one person, you're trying to compete with everybody. It opens up more stuff.
You're not as in tune with every single person's intentions in a four-player game or where people are going. Yeah.
But like for a Knizia game, for one that plays in 14 minutes, one that has a bit of like the Ticket to Ride feel, and like there's a reason Ticket to Ride has, stood the test of time as a gateway game and everything, is because that idea of just having colored cards and you play a certain number of cards and you get to place a certain
the same
number,
color,
right?
and
It's easy to wrap your head around, but there's something satisfying about it, and there's a randomness in it, but it's not like cutting you out of
and in some ways this is like, obviously there's stuff with Ticket to Ride where you have to like look at your route long term, and there's a bit more of that like long term planning, but this makes certain things more simplified as well, because the 5-card hand limit we talked about in Ticket to Ride, how often, like I'll say this right now, like I often play Ticket to Ride and just take 2 cards off the top for the first however many turns, so I have like a 20-card hand. And in this, the fact that you have a max hand of 5 cards.
Knizia saw you coming. He's
I
like,
know,
I'm not going to let Carlos get the stretch.
And well, you can draw up to 6, but then you have to discard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because then it limits you to just like, you have to kind of play a little bit more often than you'd like.
The one, I just remembered, there's one thing I didn't mention that I actually do want to tell everyone about it, which is the parks. So besides placing your houses, you can also, during your turn, you can place 1 park. And a park, you just discard any single card from your hand, doesn't matter the color, and you place a park on whatever the spot you want. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be the color you're discarding. You just discard a color and you just play the park.
Parks are just neutral things.
But they don't get you any points. So you might think, okay, why would I play a park? It's because imagine you have like there's a row of colors and it's like pink, blue, and green, and you have pink and green in your hand, but you don't have blue, and you really want to get to that green. You can play the first one, then discard something to play a park, then play your green card. So it's such a simple little addition, but it actually adds all these little like chaining things, and it breaks your contiguous clusters.
Or if you feel like at the end of your turn you're about to place next to right next to where you place, there's a 4 or a 5, and you don't want someone else to be able to capitalize on that, then you just add a park to cover it.
Now that you said that, I don't ever think at least in the last couple 2-player games I played, that didn't even cross my mind to do that.
I don't know if I did it when we played. I remember thinking of it and being like, that'd be a good use of a park. Yeah.
So I will say, after all the accolades that I've given this, that this is actually a play it for me, and I'm pretty sure my partner's gonna like put me in the doghouse for saying that. But because she like loves it, but the only reason it's a play it is that like it's gonna stay in my collection for a while. But I just feel like there are a lot of Knizia games out there. There's a lot of Knizia tiling games. There's a lot of Knizia games I love. In terms of it being able to do this in a quick like 14, 15 minute play, amazing. But I just like, I don't, if my partner didn't like it as much as she did, I don't know that I would have had to keep this in my collection. And I feel like...
Especially for a 2-player game?
Exactly, that's the thing. So I feel like, yes, I'm going to probably own this, but if like, it's going to, I think, have... there's going to be a lifespan to it. It's going to end at some point, and it's just going to be because they're simply like... It's always the problem with someone as prolific as Knizia and as good a designer as Knizia is that there's always better Knizia games, it seems like, and there's only so much room on a shelf. There's only so much time to play board games. But it's a really strong play. Like I'll say it's a really strong play, and I would definitely give this one a chance because it could absolutely be one of those like Ticket to Ride style gateway games that you find that everyone can wrap their head around. Because I have yet to introduce this where everyone wasn't really like pleased with it, and out of my partner and 2 of my friends who don't play board games as often that played it, for all of them, we played it more than once in that exact setting, specifically because of how much they liked it. So it's a really, really popular game with people that I've introduced it to.
Yeah, there's very little to like complain about or dislike. Like I think the worst thing I can imagine anyone saying about this game is like, yeah, it's not super exciting after a play or 2 kind of thing. But it's a solid like play it for me as well. I've enjoyed it. I think I've only played it 2 or 3 times. I have not played it with 2 players yet. But I echo pretty much what you said just about like there's often going to be more appealing options. I think this is the type of game, if you played it 5 or 10 times a year, you'd probably get tired of it quickly. Yeah. But as something to revisit, a couple times a year or have on your shelf as an option for a gateway game or a family game, I think you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, 100%. That's Sunrise Lane.
All right, but yeah, if you're like a Knizia aficionado and you're like, oh, like I've played 50 Knizia games, like you're not gonna play this and go like, wow, this is some hidden gem I didn't know about. Yeah. Like it is what it is. It's solid, but it's not a remarkable, super unique game or anything. Agreed. All right, Last one for today's video is Spots. So this is the second CMYK published game, along with Lacuna in the video. So this is a 2 to 4 player push your luck dice game. And the way the game works is basically there's going to be 6 ability cards that are going to be out each game. You're going to take them either randomly from the game, or the game also has recommended sets, but there's probably about 20 of these different abilities. You put them out on the board or on the table, and each player has their own little what is it called, doghouse card, where you basically keep your extra dice, and then you're going to draw, I think you start with 2 dogs from the deck. So the dog cards will just have a certain number of slots for dice, and it will have a die value that is required. So it might have 3 slots, and it might be that you need like a 4, a 1, and a 2. So on your turn, you're basically just picking one of the action tiles that is available of the 6, and you're going to flip it over to its gray side so that another player can't use it, and you're going to take the action on the card, and they'll have different actions, like it might tell you to roll a certain number of dice and then do something with them, or that you can re-roll dice, or it might tell you to, whatever, take a new dog card off the top of the deck. There's all kinds of different abilities in here, but you are basically trying to be the first player to complete 6 dog cards by filling them up with dice. When I'm going to go back to what did I mention? What was it called? The doghouse? Is it your doghouse, or is it your yard, actually?
I call it the doghouse.
I think it's your yard, because that's where they bury the bones, right?
Oh, and the doghouse is where you keep your bones, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you have treats as well that let you re-roll your dice. But you have your yard where you bury your dice. So let's say you roll dice. Let's say you roll 3 dice, and you roll a 5, a 4, and a 3. And let's say you have spots on different cards to put the 5 and the 3, but you don't have anywhere to put the 4. You put it in your yard. Anytime that your yard, and it can hold it indeterminate number of dice, but as soon as your yard it goes over a value of 7, you bust, and any dog cards that are not completed, you lose all the dice off of those cards.
And I just want to say quickly, I was really impressed the last time I played. Like, you still pushed your luck and a little bit.
A little more restraint.
I know. Restrained, you pulled it in a little bit.
There was too much at stake that time. You got to know when to fold them, which I often don't. But that time I guess I did. But yeah, and then you just keep as the round goes on, there's fewer and fewer actions available, and then once there's 2 actions, someone takes one of the 2 that are left, and then you flip them back over, and then you have all the actions available to you again. So again, all you're doing is pick an action card that's available to all the players, do the action, and see what you can accomplish or how many dice you can put in there. The only other thing you can do on your turn is, instead of taking an action, you can just complete dog cards. So that it takes up your whole turn. Any dog cards that you have that are filled, you just flip them over to the other side, and then you draw replacements from the top of the deck. And yeah, it's just the first person to complete 6 dog cards. So fairly straightforward in terms of rules. The intricacy really does come down to the cards, and typically with games like this with abilities, I usually like to have abilities and cards that have a bit less text on them. Not necessarily saying it has to lean into iconography, but even just after a while you start looking at, what does that one do? Oh yeah, okay, reading. And even it felt like 30 minutes into the game, you're still kind of looking over it like, what does that one do? Oh yeah, right.
I would say too, it's because it's not that the card is like complex that you're having to be like, hey, what? But it's just like sometimes they can seem like they're so like obtuse and specific. It'll be like roll 7 dice, and then pick 2 dice that add up to 8, and use like it's so
and
so
then
much
bury
work.
them,
You're like,
or do
okay,
this
hang on,
with the,
sorry, what am I doing with these 7 dice? You have to like really check back in if they're not all like that, but there's enough that are that you're checking back just to be like, okay, and what am I going to do with these dice when I roll them, right? Yeah.
And each time you play, there's going to be different ones, so it's not like one of those things where you just get the learning curve out of the way the next time. And I really want to be careful what I like. This is a lightweight game. I'm not trying to state that there's too many rules or that it's like that slows the game down. I'm just saying that there's usually push your luck games, at least like the best ones, are usually really quick and really straightforward. Like to me, the golden standard is still Can't Stop, and I also put Ink and Gold right up there. Like those 2 are just all-time great. Even regardless of push your luck, I just think they're like all-time classic games. So when a game comes in that has like more rules, or now has like text on the cards or abilities, and it's a longer game to play, suddenly I start asking, like, do I want to play a longer push your luck game, or what does this achieve as a longer push your luck game? I started thinking right away, this reminded me a bit of Sheepy Time, which we played and I really enjoyed, but haven't gone back to, because when I'm in the mood for a push your luck game, I usually want to play something that's like 20 or 30 minutes that I don't have to refresh on the rules at all.
Sure, push your luck games are best when they're like small box, quick setup, quick playing.
Yeah, and you never have to refresh on the rules. Like I'm teaching people, I don't want to have to pull out the rule book for this like 10 or 15 minute game that has high randomness, whatever. And And so even that, I found the spot still overcomes a lot of the hurdles. Like I feel like for the type of game it is and the fact that it went for a slightly more rules heavy, again, use that in quotations, rules heavy, but just a little bit more of that, it still is pretty solid. This is going to be a play it for me. The first time I played it, I wondered if it might be like own it level. I thought it was really interesting and novel. And I like the decision space is interesting because when you have the multiple actions available and you're considering what's in your yard and how much can you push your luck or not, or how much do you want to build up your accumulate. Like last game you played, I had like 12 treats, and one time I just went reroll until I got what I wanted because I had the treats to spend on it. Other times you don't. So the games do play out differently enough from game to game. The reason why it's not quite an own it is, again, like comparatively, when am I going to pick this over other push your luck games? Do I need to own this? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a play it for me too. I'll preface with that. Honestly, like I echo a lot of the stuff you said. The biggest thing I've noticed with it, and it was like it came up in the last game I played, is that I just find that sometimes the end of the game is just so anticlimactic. And I've noticed this. We played it a lot in BGA, and I felt it there, but it's not. You're not when you're playing async or when you're playing online, you don't feel it as much when you're in person. But like when you have like 5 cards finished and you have that last card and you need to get like a 2 and or a 4 on it, and you have a bunch of rerolls, like it's like I need this dice, I need a 2, I need a 2, and you, I busted, okay, and it doesn't really matter that you busted because there's only 2 spots, so it's more just like, am I gonna get it? It just becomes a rolling game, and it becomes way less interesting at that point. And as much as I like that the treats exist, and I like that they give you this way to sort of control the randomness, I almost wonder if there would have been a better, like sometimes what I wonder when playing it is, could they have scaled back the amount of treats you can possibly get, like where it's way harder to get them, but have them, instead of just being a reroll, be where you can like turn a 3 into a 4 or turn like a 5
or maybe use
into
3,
6,
you can hold
right?
5 treats, but if you spend 3 you can just
something
increase
like that,
the value.
because I just feel like then at the end maybe it becomes easier to hit those numbers, but and then I wonder, is that a bad thing? Like is it worse that the game in those last turns gets end quickly if you have some treats versus someone just rolling.
Yeah, I did feel a bit weird because I was re-rolling the one with the 8 dice. It's like pick up 8 dice, roll them all, look around. Okay, I want.
Because you needed a 6 and a 2,
maybe
right?
maybe I don't have the. Okay, I'll use a treat, pick up, and I'm just sitting there being like, Dylan's just sitting here watching me pick up a handful of dice, roll them, look around, be like, no, pick up another handful of dice. Like I felt weird just being like, you're just watching me. Sit here just rolling dice over and over.
The way I'd explain it is like, it just feels like all the pieces that are there are the right pieces. It's just like there's a couple that I think they could have fit a little bit differently, and I wonder, could you have fit them a little bit differently, because to solve the problem of like it being anticlimactic at the end, to solve the problem of like treats. Some games, like getting a whole bunch of treats is great to be like I have more control, but it doesn't feel super engaging to be like, what I get out of that is every time I don't get what I want, I just re-roll again, I re-roll again, I re-roll again, rolling. And then the last thing I'll say is that I love all the different like abilities that can show up in the games, but like any game that has these, some are inherently like less interesting and not as good as others, and sometimes depending on the combination you get, I think this only happened in the BGA, but there was a game I can't remember what the abilities were, but I just remember on the game not being super interested in the abilities that were available, and if I didn't go first and someone took some of the ones that were useful, I would be left with 4 options, which you think like 4 to the 6 options, great, and I'd be like, yeah, but I'm not feeling super excited about any of them, and nor am I feeling like this is really helping me. It's more just like, I guess I'll take this one. You know? So
like late in the round, you have 1 treat, and there's like the one that's like double all your treats and take 1 more.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, so I have 1, I double it, I get 2, and then I take it. So basically, I just take 2 treats. Like,
So like I said, it's a play for me, and I think it actually grew on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought
with our last play, even like,
and I cooled on it. We
were
like here, and I think
we've met in the middle.
Yeah, a little. I think I still like it a bit more than you. I'm getting the impression, but solid game,
solid play. Yeah. And that is all 6 games that's been on Play It, Skip It. So again, recapping really, really quick. I'll go through mine. I had a Radlands. That was an owner for me, play it for you. I had Lacuna. That was an owner for me, play it for you. And then I had Sunrise Lane, or did you say own it for Lacuna?
No, yes, Lacuna was
own it for both of us. And then Sunrise Lane was play it.
Yep, and then the White Castle, play it. Mm-hmm. The Wolves,
play it, and spots, play it.
Yeah, all your games are just
and we've talked about this before on the channel. If you're new to the series or whatever, I would say probably like at least 50 or 60% of the games we feature on here tend to be play it, because we're pretty open-minded to like, we're happy that we get to try a lot of games, and it usually is going to take like a really bad game for us to say, you know, we wish we had skipped it entirely, or a really good game for us to say it's worth owning.
Yeah. And also like it's, you know what? I forgot what I was gonna say. I had his point, and I was gonna, but like, I lost it. But like, oh no, that's what it was. Like basically, like that's why I sometimes try to make the point of being like, this is a strong player. This is edging close.
Yeah.
Because there are nuances in there, but the point of this series isn't to dig into those nuances. It's supposed to be like, out of these 3 options, do you keep it in your collection? Do you just play it? Or do you move on from it or whatever? But yeah, like there are games here that even though like all yours were play it, like White Castle and Wolves, I would say, are like veering closer to skip it. Like if I had to choose, I would have felt comfortable saying that they're both skip it's, because I'm okay not playing those again. I just think I would.
I agree. Those would both be closer to skip it for me as well. Whereas like Sunrise Lane would be closer to own. So it's hard to put things on a 3-point scale.
Maybe after we do like 58 of these, like we're saying, then we'll change it into like a wavelength. Like, where are you?
Oh, there has to be something between skip and play, and another thing between. Do you make it a 5?
No. Like it just like you have own it on this side, and you have play it on this side, and we just say where on the wavelength scale.
Oh, okay.
It is. Man, this actually sounds like a great idea. We should do. I don't know. That has been on the Play It Skip It. As always, go into the comments. Let us know what you think about all 6 of these games. If you played them, are they on a Play It Skip It for you? If you want to see any other games on this channel in the future, you're curious about what games or games that we haven't played and what our thoughts are, let us know those in the comments. Don't be a jerk in the comments. Keep being a kind person in the comments.
That was very specific.
Just don't be a jerk, okay? Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.